We are live. Hi, I'm Autumn Payne. I'm a visual journalist, and I'm speaking today with Stephen Walker. He's a therapist at Middle Way Health and also a Buddhist teacher. So he combines a really wonderful perspective of both Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. And we're talking about a variety of topics on mental health. This is our 17th interview. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, we hope this will
Glad
be
I'm here.
beneficial. So we're going to continue on from our last discussion. We were talking about counterphobia. And as promised, we're going to follow up that discussion with a top about fear. So let's talk about fear. First of all, fear gets a really bad rap in our culture, right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, is fear a bad thing? Is it an intrinsically negative emotion to have?
Yeah, good question. Uh, from a yogic point of view, if I could say that, um, most fear has a large degree of confusion in it, right?
Does
Uh,
it?
yeah,
I'm
because
not aware of
fear,
that.
yeah, so fear is considered a composite kind of experience or emotion. So it has uh, it's basically fear at its most core is basically panic or terror, where you don't know, should you hold on to something or should you let go, and you don't know what to do. So should you stay put or should you run? So it entails emotions of or problems of grasping on too tight or letting go too much, pushing away, which is anger. And then there's the bewilderment, ignorance, or confusion. So one reason fear is so hard to work with is it's not a single emotion.
Hmm.
It entails cognitive distortions, um, emotional ignorance, plus a strong kind of grasping, holding, clinging energy or emotion, and a strong anger, pushing away, letting go, kind of distancing emotion. So those mix up in kind of a amalgamation that's extremely strong.
Oh, wow. So it's not just one thing then.
No, usually, people think, well, fear is just avoidance,
Mm-hmm.
but it's which would be kind of a backing up or pushing away feel. But people are also extremely aggressive
Mm-hmm.
and they're afraid, right? It can go that direction. And generally, in most kinds of fear, people are also really confused,
Mm-hmm.
really holding on to false beliefs or not bewildered, not knowing where to go or totally in the dark, something like that.
Mm. So then, would you categorize fear as a negative thing always in all circumstances?
Generally, when we present fear that way, it's definitely going to be a negative because with fear we don't want to look at the situation properly, and
Mm.
we're just going to be reactive,
Mm.
either be aggressive or pushing away or avoiding unnecessarily. So uh, there's a lot of fear in the world today for health issues. There's always economic and social fears and everything that kind of you know run the whole situation, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
uh, when we're talking about like positive fear, you know we can be talking about there's a lot of energy that when combined with wisdom or insight will be protective, right?
So, what would be a good example of that?
uh, you know not getting drunk and riding on a motorcycle, that I'm afraid of getting in an accident.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, we want to avoid that, and there's a lot of energy around, because we understand the causal situation correctly,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're not bewildered. We're not thinking, oh, it doesn't matter what I do, and well, no cars will hit me and there won't be any rain or there won't be any slick pavement, blah, blah. So, and I can, just drive drunk and that's fine, So, having a fear in that sense, would be, we could say, a positive fear because there's a wisdom behind it.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
gonna say. It sounds like a wisdom or almost a
but I'd,
cognitive
I'd
process.
rather, in some sense, I'd rather not call it fear. I'd rather call it, caution.
Yeah, it almost makes more sense too, because when you're talking about not wanting to do that, there's not that big emotional like terror there. There's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not gonna get drunk and ride a motorcycle because it's gonna hurt. It's more rational.
So there can be a positive fear, quote unquote, when we want to hold on to things that need to be held on to. So we could say, I fear losing my health, right? So we want to hold on to our health. So we want to take
Mm-hmm.
steps to hold on, or we want to preserve, which is love. Actually, love wants to preserve things, but we can
Mm-hmm.
also say we have a fear of losing things that are precious to us. We don't want. We have a fear of our children aren't being cautious and or getting involved in things. So we can call that positive, but again, I would call in that sense, that's love. We want to preserve something, and we're adding
Mm-hmm.
caution to the love. We're not just saying, I love you, do whatever you want. Doesn't matter when you come home. We're saying,
Mm-hmm.
I love you, so I want you home, or I want you to be careful running with scissors.
Mm-hmm. But I'm glad you brought up love in relation to fear, because I've had this discussion before and I'm very interested in this topic. I'm not sure I've ever felt terror to the same degree as when I first held my daughter in my arms for the
Mm,
first time, and then felt that feeling of, oh my gosh, if anything happens to this child. I mean, it's terror. Like, it
mhm.
feels like the worst thing that can ever happen to you. So, how do you manage that? And, there are people that are facing this with their children that are dealing with, like with Judah the Lionheart and the little boy with heart issues and things like that. How do you manage fear that is so rooted in love?
A big part of fear, of course, is the confusion. So if we don't know who we are really, and we don't know who the other person is or the situation clearly, and there's lots of confusion, um, then uh, there really is going to be approaching panic and or at least an anxiety, crisis, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a panic moment, and then it could be like real terror.
Mm-hmm.
So we generally don't, under these circumstances, we don't make good decisions.
Mm.
Even anxiety is a little bit of fear, right?
Mm. Oh yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
people can ruin their lives through, anxiety disorders.
Mm-hmm.
So if you add wisdom and insight and mindfulness to a very strong responses of not wanting to lose something or wanting something to stay away or wanting to preserve
Mm.
something or love something, then that energy that's generated can be positive.
Oh, I really like that idea. So instead of trying to get rid of
Yeah.
fear, add love and wisdom.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
That's
saying?
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. You're picking up on that. Yeah, totally.
Oh, I like that idea.
So we need wisdom, love, we need the preserving quality that wants to see things grow and flourish and learn, but appropriately, because we have a lot of strong energy, but unless it's educated or channeled, fear is just going to be like molten lava. It's just going to come out and we'll get burned.
Hmm. And
So
fear can
unfortunately,
really impact your life in a
yeah,
extreme way. too.
And people have different styles of being fear. Some people are gonna withdraw, right? But other people are going to be very aggressive with their fear.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to feel alive and kind of juiced up without the fear. But I think unfortunately people, like I've mentioned in the past, can be very counterphobic. So um, they feel they have to maintain kind of a fear not to be afraid, or to show that they can control it. But I'd like to propose that there are ways of feeling really alive and vibrant and in touch, but that it doesn't have to be by using fear. It's through loving wisdom, and which translates as aliveness. Just feel really
Mm-hmm.
alive and awake. That's really nice. And then you feel like you're in the zone, in the flow of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a struggle.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It
I know.
does.
But sometimes, we use fear to manipulate people, and we use fear to manipulate ourselves.
So what do you mean manipulate people with fear? Like, oh, to instill fear in them in order to
Yeah,
get them to do something? Is
yeah, or do
that what you
something
mean?
for us. Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think that's kind of very common in the world.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but evolutionarily speaking, okay, I'm just gonna bring it back to like a bunny in the woods.
Okay.
Is the rabbit is scared of getting eaten by everything, and so it's gonna protect itself. Um, so in that way, it's natural to have some fear. But I don't know.
um, well, this maybe is another discussion, but natural doesn't mean that's the way we should be doing things. So there's natural, like if we left people alone, if we left kids in the forest with the wolves, they wouldn't be able to progress as human beings.
Yeah, that's a
So
good point.
it's natural for human beings to have a lot of training and acculturation and education. So I mean that's another discussion, nature versus nurture stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is natural actually to have the amount of fear that people have today.
Oh, yeah.
So
There's a lot.
uh, the classic thing out of Indian yoga is like if you're walking down a dark road and you see something that looks like a snake, you don't immediately know whether it's a snake or a stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it perhaps is wise to, avoid or shine a light on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, we're using a wisdom mind where a reactive mind wouldn't investigate, just go, okay, I'm going to turn back, or maybe I'll hop over the snake, or be
Mm-hmm.
counterphobic, like I don't care, or I'm tougher than the snake, something like that.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
I think it's natural for there to be a heightened sense of attention and awareness and energy in the body, when there's a threat. But that heightened energy doesn't have to turn into what we classically know as fear.
Mm, I like that.
So
Add
I like,
wisdom.
yeah, that's right. Wisdom
Just
is
add
like
wisdom.
you're investigating, and, to the best of your knowledge, you're making an informed choice. So if you can't determine what it is, um, maybe it does make sense to give it a wide berth or walk around. People walking on the um, American River Park Trail, will run into rattlesnakes, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I've talked to some people that they turn around, or some people give it a wide berth, and I talked to one person that kind of hops over the snake.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
And then there's stories of people making friends with the snakes, right?
yeah, those are
Yeah.
there's interesting stories with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's a lot here.
There
We're
he
coming up
is.
to the very end, but
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again
All
soon.
right. We will.
Okay. All right.
Ciao. Thanks,
Bye.
Autumn. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.